Hi, and welcome to the Revive, Thrive, and Optimize podcast. I'm Billy Weiss, compounding pharmacist and health and wellness expert. Today is not Janet, but a really good friend of Janet's, Lydia. Lydia Sherman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Billy.
So tell us how you got started and why you're sitting across the table from me today.
Well, our paths crossed about 8 years ago with hot yoga with Janet. And we started kind of taking some of your supplements, and then we kind of realized we need to do more, get on a regiment and be consistent with it. And we thought we were doing a lot of the right things. The fruit smoothies, the vegetable smoothies. We found out that was not the right thing because of the lectins and the sugars and all that. Mm-hmm. So about 4 months ago, my husband and I got our labs together and came to see you. And you put us on a program that has made some major differences in my life and in my husband's life.
Right. So we met 8 years ago, so it took you 8 years to minus 4 months to come around, huh? Now, how long, seriously, I mean, because Janet obviously is usually across from me.
Yes.
How long has she encouraged you, I think is the kind word to say how Janet does it. But how long has she been telling you to do this?
Sadly, 8 years.
Okay.
The last 5 in particular about changing a lot of our habits. And we were, exercising. We drink the right kind of water. We rest. We've been using your supplements, but like I said, not on a regular basis, not a regiment like we should have.
Right.
And we realized that the over-the-counter stuff that we were taking, that you buy at the big box stores, doesn't do the job once you get into your supplements.
So you are a believer in the study that says 80% don't contain any of the active ingredients.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. You experienced it.
We have.
Yeah.
We have seen some major differences. I was on an over-the-counter proton pump inhibitor.
Yep.
And my doctor recommended that I go off one and go on another one because of the connection to Alzheimer's. For 10 years, I've been taking this, and nobody ever said, let's find a solution to this. So we decided to come to you, got some advice, and the digestive enzymes. No indigestion, no reflux, no complications when I eat. Starting off with 2, 4, 6 a day. Now I'm down to 1. And like you said, you can't overdose on them.
So just so everybody is in the audience can understand, proton pump inhibitor means that you had heartburn or
acid reflux.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so you were taking something to cut off the acid pump, which, by the way, the drug companies tell us you should never be on more than 12 weeks.
So that's a little longer,
at a time.
10 years.
So 10 years. And you started the enzymes and the probiotics, right?
Yes.
And in the beginning, though, you had to take multiple enzymes a day.
I did.
But now you're down to just one enzyme a day.
I take one in the evening.
And then one probiotic, I guess, at bedtime?
I do one probiotic in the morning and one probiotic at night.
Okay.
2 a day.
And so you're not having any of those reflux symptoms without the drug?
None.
Okay.
Another benefit, you can tell me what it came from. I've always had rosacea around my nose pretty severely. And dermatologists will give creams. It has gone away.
Well, Lydia, I think it's from the same effect. You fixed your gut. So I would tell you that almost all skin conditions like rosacea are a gut issue. So when you fixed your gut, you probably also then fixed the rosacea from that.
That's right.
So it's all connected. And, you said something really important. The doctor wanted you to change because of the Alzheimer's increase with those drugs long term. But, there's a lot of other long-term implications that are not good with those drugs, like bone loss, osteoporosis, heart disease, kidney disease. So it's not just, not that Alzheimer's is any less offensive than those other things, but it's affecting a lot of different systems in our body and has a lot of bad side effects.
You mentioned osteoporosis. I have osteoporosis in my hips. I took a medically recommended procedure or injection back in May. And I was sick for a month.
Yeah.
I ached, I hurt, didn't feel like myself. mentioned that to you and you put me on one of the Bone Mineral Pro,
Right.
it has made a world of difference. And I won't go back and do the other 3 treatments
Right.
because I found a better way to handle it.
So explain when you say it's made a difference, a big difference. Tell us what that means to you.
I had lots of inflammation and hurting in my hips when I tried to move, when I tried to walk, when I would do postures in yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Since I've started, and we've been on this 4 months, on a regimen of that for 4 months, I don't have those aches anymore.
Okay.
I don't have those pains anymore. Those little pinches that you get when you move a certain way.
Right.
I don't experience that anymore.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm glad you do. And you don't have those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you're able to tell the difference. And, we had the discussion of how I believe that injection,
Mm-hmm.
not only did it make you feel bad, but I think if you look at the real research, it actually makes the bone loss worse in the long run. And that's their research.
Right.
They tell us that it can cause more fractures. They tell us that it can cause osteonecrosis or the jawbone being deteriorated. So it's really weird to me how it can deteriorate some bones, but it's supposed to build others back.
And those
stronger.
side effects were never, this is what you need to do, this will do this, but the side effects were never mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, another success story, your magnesium.
Yeah.
I have suffered since being a freshman in college with debilitating migraines. I've had over-the-counter, I've had prescriptions, I've had everything. It was suggested, the onset, and if you've suffered with migraines ever, you can feel them start.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I feel one, I take 4 of your magnesium. And within 20, 30 minutes, it's gone.
And how long would it typically have lasted before?
It would put me in bed sometimes for a day.
Okay.
And after taking the medication, you always had this feeling, I've still got the headache, but it's behind my medicine. And then you've got that sluggish feeling where you don't feel good because of the medications.
Yeah.
But your magnesium have been a lifesaver.
So I'm curious. So you're taking a daily dose at bedtime, correct? Mm-hmm. Of 3?
I take 4.
4, okay. And how many times in the last 4 months, approximately, have you had to do the 4 at the onset of a headache?
9 different times.
9 times. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'd be curious in the future, Lydia. A lot of people, once they get on the magnesium on a regular basis, their auras, we call them, where they feel that coming on, right, will disappear. And they just go, I don't even have them anymore. So I'm certainly hoping that you will have
I'll be
that
glad.
same. But if you can get rid of it in 20 minutes with no side effects versus a day down, plus the side effects from the drugs, I still say that's a win, even if you have to keep doing it, right?
And sometimes they're so severe that a couple hours later, I may take 4 more, but I can't overdose on them. And so think of all the benefits of the magnesium my body is getting from the magnesium.
Well, that's what I tell everybody. There's 350 positive functions. So, worst case scenarios, you have to dose up on the magnesium. You take too much, or I shouldn't say too much. You get too many in your system, you have a little bit of diarrhea. That'd be the worst thing that could happen. So that's a pretty good trade-off versus drugs with 398 side effects, right?
Yes, it is.
So, no, I remember you text me, I think, that your migraines were so much better. So I'm glad you brought it up because that was one of the things I had on my mind to ask you. Because I know Janet had mentioned to me how many times she had seen you over the years suffering with a debilitating, headache.
It's true.
So I know that's a game changer for you not to have to deal with that anymore.
And as soon as I feel them, take 4 and I can go on. I don't have to stop.
Right.
And that's the wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. I mean, that's, all those are big wins, but to me, that one is probably the one that interfered with your daily life the most. It sounds like, putting you down for a day. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big deal. So not having that is, to me, a big win for you. And I guess now thinking, the hips hurting and the pinching, that's probably a daily deal too for you, wasn't it? So that's a big one too.
It was.
And I know you may not so much feel being off the proton pump inhibitor, but believe me, it's making you overall health better.
I feel better. I feel like what I'm supposed to feel like.
Okay. That was going to kind of be my next question is, what has your energy, your sleep, what else have you noticed in these 4 months since you've been consistent?
It's just better. I feel better. I wake up with more energy. I'm sleeping better. I've started the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah. You went to see Kim?
No, I went to see Dr. Wilkinson.
Okay.
In Gastonia.
You went to Dr. Wilkinson?
Dr.
Okay,
Wilkinson.
great.
Started that. I've been on it. This is going on day 10, I believe.
Oh, so you're just getting started.
Just getting started.
Okay.
But I can already feel a difference in that.
And I suspect 4 months from now, with the addition of that, you're going to have even better results.
Right. And the medical community, they only know what they know.
Correct.
And they don't know what they don't know. And when I've asked for hormone replacement therapy before, nope, can't do it. It causes this, it causes that. We won't even discuss it. Then I start hearing different things, that the bioidentical, the micronized bioidentical, it works, and all the benefits of that. Well, studies are showing that the hormones you're losing, you replace them with the right kind, it's a win-win.
It is absolutely a win-win.
So
you feel better, and if you look at the studies, every marker of health improves for men and women.
Makes sense.
So I equate it to putting back the right vitamins and minerals to nutrients, the supplements that we do. And then when we can add back the right hormones to that mix, it works like a symphony. Your body just works better now.
It does. I don't feel my age. That number,
that's awesome.
I do not feel that way. I have, like I said, more energy. I have a better mindset.
Right.
I don't have that cloudy fatigue feeling anymore.
Well, what I talk about a lot is quality of life, right? And it sounds like in the last 4 months that you would say, right, that your quality of life has improved.
A lot better.
Okay.
Much better. And the path we're on now, I plan on continuing. Now, it's expensive.
Right.
But you think about it. Are you going to spend it in the hospital and with your doctors, or something that's good for you? And this is it, because our medical system can only do so much. And they're not going to give you a wellness out. They're going to give you a prescription.
Yeah.
Because that's all they know.
Well, and remember, Lydia, you say it's expensive, and I know there's an investment there for you every month. But in comparison to what it costs to have a heart attack or have a broken hip or have to have surgery because you have a bleeding ulcer, or it's really not expensive in comparison to that. But I know it's an investment. I know people have to commit. I get it. But I think in the long run, absolutely it's worth it, and you're going to save money and you're going to feel better.
Last year, I had total reverse shoulder replacement.
Oh, wow.
On my right shoulder. And my recovery time was amazing. And several people in the medical field have said it's probably because of the regimen of exercise and your supplements.
Yeah.
The way you healed and the way you were back at doing what you wanted to do.
That's great.
So there's another thing. It's doing the right stuff for your body. And you say it, be the CEO. When we took control of what we wanted to do, the benefits are so good.
And Lydia, I think that is a really important point that you make, is be the CEO. So you decided, hey, I'm going to take control of my health. Right. I'm not just going to follow what the medical community tells me. Right. I'm going to get information, and then you make an informed decision. Right. Just like on all of it, right? Like the proton pump inhibitor, the injections for the osteoporosis, the hormones, the supplements. I mean, you've made all those, the decision to go work out and do yoga with Janet.
We do it.
I mean, all of that is really being the CEO of your own health.
Yes.
That's really what it's all about. So I can't, I don't know how you put a price tag on that, the way that you feel, There is no price for it. Yeah.
It's just the quality that we have. And one more ailment is the arthritis in my joints. The doctor recommended rheumatologist. You recommended one of your supplements for inflammation. And it's another game changer.
Good. So that and the bone mineral has really made a difference, it sounds like, in your joints. Difference.
Yes, it has.
Well, good.
So we're on the right path.
Yeah. And look, I tell everybody, it doesn't mean that something can't go wrong tonight or tomorrow, but it makes it less likely. It makes it less likely. And I like those odds when we can reduce our chances of big ailments happening, right? So that's an amazing story. I mean, and like you say, it hadn't, 4 months and only 10 days on the hormone therapy. So that's pretty fast when you think about the turnaround time versus being on a proton pump inhibitor for 10 years, right? I mean, compare that, right?
My husband and I have talked about it since we started the program with you 4 months ago. Why didn't we start it sooner?
Well, we can all.
So anybody that's out there, if you're thinking about it, don't put it off.
Well, I love that. Yeah.
Really, you don't, because you're not going to believe how wonderful you do feel when you get into this. Now, we changed our food with some consultations with you because of some gut issues that you had mentioned, leaky gut.
Right.
And so many of our friends that I'm telling about this now, they're like, well, that's the way I feel. And I'm like, well, I got a plan for you if you'll just do it.
Well, what I tell a lot of people is you might want to take that as a clue, right? If you feel that way, you might need to take that as a clue that something needs to change, right? So, and I love the fact, and I do know that you, like Janet and a lot of other folks, but you're really trying to spread the word, because when you feel good, you want to tell other people, right? And here's the thing that gets me, that I hear all the time from people. They don't realize that they don't feel as good as they can.
They don't realize they're bloated. They don't realize they're fatigued. They don't realize that they have that energy level that has just bottomed out.
Right.
Because they get too used to feeling
They think it's
bad.
normal.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm just older. I just feel bad. No, you don't.
Right.
You can do something about it.
Right. And there's no question. And I hear people who do that. They'll use just the multi, we'll say, or just the multi in the mag. And they'll go, God, I couldn't believe how much energy I had. So they don't even realize it because it happens over time. You're right. And they think that it's normal.
But it's not.
No, it's not.
You can do something about it.
So I know you haven't been through the summit, but the summit's coming up the first weekend in January. What would you tell somebody that was thinking about trying to start the journey? And I know we just did a consult, which was, sitting down for a very short time versus 2 full days. I know you learned a lot in or I think you learned a lot in the consult, but imagine 2 full days of stuff like what we did.
I think it's an investment in your health. It's an investment in your future. It's well worth it. Your time and the knowledge you're going to get from it, and all the benefits you're going to gain day after day after day when you've learned how to live right, how to eat right, your pillars that you talk about. Stay hydrated, rest and recovery, the right kind of foods, the right kind of supplements. And what am I leaving out? There's one more. Exercise.
Food, water. Yeah, I was going to say supplements, exercise.
I mean, we do the hot yoga. I do the Pilates with Janet. Right. We walk. We walk our yard, which is about a good 5 miles if you push the grass.
Oh, wow.
So we lift weights. So there's all these things we're doing that we're in charge of doing, and we feel so much better.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is when you're doing those things, you're able to do a lot of things that a lot of Americans aren't able to do.
You're exactly right.
50% of kids today in America are overweight or obese. That's amazing to me, Lydia. When you think about Japan, Japanese children have a 1% overweight rate.
Oh, I can get on my soapbox. I've been in education for 38 years.
Yeah.
And I watch what the children eat from the school cafeterias. I watch what they bring for snacks, what they bring in their lunch boxes. And there's no way that their little brains can function with the trash they're putting in their stomachs.
It's all processed, right?
It is. Everything's processed.
Yeah.
And you just look at the obesity rate.
Yeah.
Little children in 3rd grade, 1st grade, 2nd grade shouldn't weigh that much. And on top of that, you've got kids that have anxiety, ADHD, ADD. They have total emotional breakdowns. Something's not working in our food chains.
Yeah.
If our children are that way.
You know, Lydia, that's very interesting. You talk about the ADHD, because I did a consultation with a mom today with a 7-year-old little girl who has ADHD. And I asked the mom what her list of meds was, and she told me. And it's really ironic that one of the meds they have her on for her ADHD has red dye in it. So think
No.
about one of the causes of ADHD
It's red dye.
is red dye. So think about the fallacy in this fact that we need to color the drug, apparently, with the dye that causes what we're trying to treat. It's almost so unbelievable that you don't believe it.
That's right.
But it's absolutely true. It's sad.
I believe it.
But it's true. So you've taught school for 38 years. You've seen the change, obviously, in the size, the weight of these children. What age children do you teach?
The last 17 years, it was third grade.
Okay. So they're, how old's third grade?
8, 9 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I talked to a pediatrician who has since retired, but he told me that, the first 30 years of his practice, he never saw an overweight kid.
I can
He never
totally agree.
saw type 2 diabetes in a kid.
Back when I started teaching, it was very rare if you had an overweight child. It was very rare to have any children dealing with emotional issues,
Right.
with ADHD, with ADD, with anxieties. Very rare. Now, it's in a classroom, you may have 3 or 4,
Yeah.
maybe 5.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, and you think about it, it's the number one thing that has changed is their nutrition, their
Right.
food. It's gone from real food back when, I'm sure, mostly when you started, to now box, canned. I'm even told by some ladies that work at the high school here, and you can tell me if it's true where you teach, that they're not allowed to cook anymore.
We don't. It's shipped in.
It's all brought in,
It's processed.
pre-made processed foods. So same there, huh?
I read a statistic that said 90 years ago, 90% of the foods that are in our grocery stores were not produced and in our grocery stores.
That's correct.
90% of the diseases were not present 90 years ago. So what does that tell you?
Well, you think back, and I know you remember this because I do. It was like they would have people at the fair that were fat, like they were a show.
Yeah,
I mean, an exhibit. I don't know the
That's
word,
right.
and I'm not trying to
No.
make light of fat people. I'm just saying it was so rare that it was something that people would pay to go
Right.
see with
'Cause you're not
somebody that
gonna
was
see it
overweight
anywhere else.
and fat like that.
Oh.
And now you can go to anywhere in America, and go to any store or any mall or any event and just look around, right? And you'll see them everywhere.
And those are the type of people that will say, you need to do something to yourself, for yourself.
Yeah.
And the visceral body fat
Yeah.
is what so many people are carrying around that they don't even realize.
No.
And that's the most damaging, correct?
It is the most damaging. They don't even know. They've never heard the term, probably, Lydia, and their doctors never mentioned it to them. And they've certainly never had an in-body test like
Right,
you have that shows them. We did that when you come in. So we're trying to, again, to educate people so that they can understand why eating the processed foods is a problem when you can show them their in-body. And yes, the visceral fat is fat we don't necessarily see, but it is more dangerous than the fat we do see.
Had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine not long ago, and she's trying to lose weight. So she's not drinking the regular drink. She's drinking the diet drink. She's not eating the full-fat Greek yogurt. She's eating the no-fat Greek yogurt. She's not eating the regular sugars. She's eating the artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to lose fat, you got to eat fat. You got to eat the right fats. You got to do the right things. She's like, nope, to lose weight, you've got to do. I'm like, nope.
She's unfortunately doing everything backwards, but that's what we've been taught. That's what people are taught today is that fat causes you to be fat. And so I always ask, if we're talking 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, we didn't really have any obesity in America and overweight to speak of. Very rare. We all mostly were cooking with lard, beef tallow, real butter. That's what was available. That's what was used. People ate bacon and eggs in the morning.
And your body can process those things.
That's correct. It can process those things. And it can't process now. We have all these seed oils, right? Yes. Which are changing. There's studies that show this. They change the type of fat that we produce. and it's much harder for our bodies to burn that fat.
Right.
So you think about all these changes, and you're talking about these kids eating all this processed food, and those are full of these seed oils. They're full of sugars or artificial sweeteners. They're full of gluten. They're full of wheat. And they're full of all these things because they're subsidized by our government.
Exactly.
And so we got to get away from the idea that they're USDA and the FDA and the, I don't know.
That's
all the
not in our
powers
best
that be,
interest.
that they're looking out for us, right? Even the
It's not.
ADA and the AMA, the American Medical Association, American Diabetes Association, are teaching the wrong things in most cases. And so we have to understand they're all paid for by the food companies, by the drug companies. And so it's no wonder that they're all on this same page. And then somebody like your friend has heard this over and over and over, and that's the advice she follows. Now, unfortunately, just one little change, though, those artificial sweeteners, one diet drink a day, one can diet drink a day or a bottle of diet drink a day increases the risk of stroke. I want to say it's over 30%. I think it's 34 or 36%.
Well, her comment was, I can't make my day go unless I have my diet. She named her favorite drink.
Yeah.
And I said, you're better off to drink water out of the tap.
You're better off to drink the regular drink.
I mentioned that too. And she said,
honestly.
She said, it's too sweet. And I'm like, oh, but think about it's poison. It's nothing but.
It really is poison.
That's my soapbox for that.
Well, no, and I appreciate you bringing that up because so many people are confused. And that's the beauty of something like the summit or a consultation is we did talk about food and how it affects your gut and how it affects your overall health and how it can trigger different conditions, right?
Now, no doubt, it is a journey to the grocery store. When you start reading labels, what you can eat and what you can't eat, just because it says simply nature or simply organic or totally organic, you better read that label because there's something on there 9 times out of 10 that's not going to work. And it's usually a seed oil.
And that is true. And you have to, the same thing on gluten-free. People say, well, eat gluten-free. I'm like, what are you reading what they're replacing the gluten with? Not that I'm condoning gluten. I'm just saying, we sometimes can make things worse when we try to supposedly make them better. So
had a conversation with a young girl who was trying to cut back on some things, and she knew gluten wasn't good for her. So she's eating organic sourdough bread because it's gluten-free.
Yeah, I hear that all the
time. I'm like, it can't be gluten-free. And it is. It's organic. I'm like, but if it's made with wheat, it's gluten. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. I hear it all the time. People say, well, I eat this bread and that bread. And I'm like, look, if it has wheat in it,
it's going to be gluten.
It's got gluten. Yeah. I mean, it's just, they go hand in hand. So,
but you've got to be the CEO of going to the grocery store too.
Yeah.
And like we're back to the red meats, the grass-fed, grass-finished. We eat a lot of venison.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate grass-fed, grass-finished.
It is.
We eat eggs, the butter, the kefir milk that we buy.
Yeah.
It's made a big difference in our diet, in our waistline.
Yeah.
And that's the other plus. You start losing weight.
Yeah.
You eating fat and you're losing fat.
You're losing fat. Let's specify.
Yeah, you're losing fat. So eating fat, losing fat.
That's awesome. Well, listen, your story is unbelievable.
Thank you.
So you've already told people don't wait. Do it if they're thinking about it.
Do it now.
What do you want to leave them with? Because, what's your last piece of advice, or do you want to double down on that? What do you want to tell people out there listening?
Take the time to come to somebody like you. Listen to it and look at the hard facts. One of the podcasts that you and Janet did just recently, or that was aired just recently, talked about what you look for when you go to the store. Even though you're buying this super duper know-all vitamin, whatever, from some doctor or whatever, online or at the store, you gave us some really good clues about reading what's on that label. And if it has this or this in it, it's causing your body harm. So I guess the last thing is take control of it. Get knowledgeable. Know what you're putting in your body. Take the time and spend the money to do what's best for you, because you're the only person that's going to do the best for you. Nobody else is.
I love it. Absolutely.
It is.
Well, thank you, Lydia.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking your time to come and tell your story. It's going to help people.
Good.
Thanks.
Hope it does.
Bye.
Bye.